yapping in the hills today. I'm yapping solo. Let's take a walk. So, as I was taking this walk today, I was taking a walk the other day. Man. So I was taking this walk in Mhlanje. I usually do this every morning. Just enjoy the landscape, enjoy the views, enjoy the hills. I was struck by an idea. Well, not necessarily an idea, but just a thought. A thought happened. A thought occurred in my mind regarding, the whole entire Drake, Kendrick situation, J. Cole apologizing and everything like that. The new album Iceman coming up real soon, 15 May. The whole entire thing with people flooding Kendrick's comments on his recent post with ice blocks and owl emojis. I'm not going to be speaking about how that is bad and how that is good or anything of like that nature, but I like to just basically speak about what these people represent. I remember some years back when these guys came out, the big three, they were given these labels with how each of them contributes to the whole entire industry or the music scene as a whole. I remember we were labeling Kendrick as in my case, there was the mind, the heart, and the soul. I don't remember specifically who was the what, but I know for a fact that Drake was the heart, Kendrick, for me, the mind, and then Cole, the soul. Cole, the soul kind of rhymes. So for me, I've never kind of taken away these guys out of their own entire, what they represent and what they stand for. Of course, they alternate, all of them. They kind of go into, I'm going to rap about bitches sometimes. Kendrick does it. Drake does it. Cole does it. But what is their overall theme in their music? What is it that they basically always foreshadow? I don't know if that's the right term, because foreshadowing is something that's going to happen next. Now, what is it that they basically put in the forefront of their music? What do we recognize them by? We would definitely recognize Kendrick by his social commentary in music, his themes of mental illness and mental care, priorities, family, all of that, respect, religion, God, Bible. And we will always think of J. Cole of where do I come from? Paying respect to the greats. Even though you recognize yourself as the great, but be humble enough to know that there are things that will set somebody apart from you. So you can't necessarily be fully the great until you're deemed by other greats to be the greats. I think kind of describing J. Cole is very hard these days because he's so apologetic about who he is, about everything about him. I was watching an interview this one time. He was talking about how he doesn't think he's the greatest rapper alive. But I'm like, bro, have you listened to your music? There was a whole entire era where you just blessed us with features. I remember that Benny the Butcher feature. I remember that Yachty feature. Bro, niggas been going in, so he's really humble. So he teaches us about humbleness. And then we have Drake. Drake is, I would not lie, Drake is about the heart, but also about self-worth. You need to know your worth, but also you need to understand that there are much bigger things than yourself. You're not bigger than your emotions. You're not bigger than you're not bigger than love. Love trumps all. When you love something, you basically lose sense of self, and Drake kind of reminds you to come back, because every time when he goes through this, you have these songs like Marvin's Room where he's crashing out over a girl that has found a new guy after his basically fucked up. But then you listen to his later work, you find that he's made it out of that hole. He's out there, he's here, man, he's alive. That's why most of us kind of relate to that part as well fully, because he speaks about the pits of being in love and being hurt, and then he also talks about the higher end where you're fucking out of it and you're like, you know what, fuck you, in fact your loss, Sebo, vis-a-vis her loss. So where am I going with this chat? I think you all want to be great. You are one person that's like, you know what, I want to be the greatest person ever. I want to be this, I want to be that. I think that's an achievable goal. Everybody can be great. And I think what their takeaways are being shared in these songs. Kendrick Lamar, largely lately, we've heard him speak about, mental clarity. I hope you find some peace of mind in this lifetime. Those kind of things. Kendrick is speaking about peace of mind. You find your peace of mind. To be the great, to be whoever you are, to be wherever you want to be, you need a little bit of peace of mind. Kendrick speaks about this largely in his music. Speaks about finding religion, speaks about finding God, being at peace with that, finding something to believe in, rather. Let me not just say God, because that may be uncomfortable to most people. But find something that you believe in. Could be anything, but anything above yourself. Could be love itself, could be the love that you have for your family. Finding something higher than yourself to believe in that will give you meaning. Otherwise, if you do anything without meaning, what's the point? Because you're just spiraling. You're just spiraling around. So that's where Kendrick comes in. Heal your mind. Because the mind, your brain, your fucking emotional standpoint in relation to your mind and how you think and how you perceive things in the world is going to be the driving force as to how you're going to become great, right? If you're sitting there, excuse me, damn. You're sitting there, you're feeling sorry for yourself, you're not mentally strengthened, you're not basically doing anything in particular to strengthen yourself, you fall victim to the whole idea of, I'm depressed, I'm this. That's why you need to speak to people, speak to your friend, find professional help, work on yourself first. If you have to, watch videos. You don't even need to afford therapy. Watch videos online. In fact, about him. Listen to Kendrick. Watch videos about Kendrick. Watch videos that are made by Kendrick. The interviews. Listen to how he speaks. This is a man who has mental clarity, but who is not afraid to say out loud when he doesn't have mental clarity. He goes to therapy. He does this. He does that. Damn, look at this motherfucker. Look at this motherfucker. Look at him. Goddamn. He speaks about these things. He's open. And I think that's where a lot of mental power thrives in, like being able to get out of your mind, being able to be present and know that, sometimes I need help. I am human. I am this. I am that. But I am not what I do sometimes, because you could be isolating yourself, so you're automatically an isolator. No. You're a very highly intellectual, emotional, biological machine that creates other not so flashy machines. Those will try to kill us one day. I'm not talking about AI, I'm kidding. But that's where you need to, I feel like this is where Kendrick Lamar comes in. He's basically that. I create my reality through my mind. Whatever I think comes to fruition, so I need to think positive thoughts. You don't have to have positive thoughts all the time, but it's what you entertain that comes to your mind. What happens is, thoughts happen. Thinking is the entertainment of thought. So when you start thinking when you start having these bad thoughts start occurring in your mind, when you start thinking over and over about them, that's when you start entertaining them. And that's when you start to basically manifest a bad feeling, all of that bullshit. Break it, like having like going through a breakup, the first thing you think about in the morning is that person, you can't get over them as yet. Yeah, boy. So obviously you're probably gonna think about them for a long time, but what you entertain that comes to your mind is that's what becomes your reality, right? So you can't be the great, you can't be the GOAT, you can't be whoever you want to be, whatever you want to be, whilst you're still entertaining such thoughts. So you need to take control of your mind, and that's basically what most of the message that I've been getting from Kendrick. You need to believe in something much more bigger. You need to be basically grounded within yourself first. You need to understand that, yeah, there are other bigger things in life, but I need to be much more bigger, I need to be not bigger than God or anything like that, not anything that you believe in, but thrive to be better than those bad shit that you basically, that are basically inevitable in the world. Because we always give, I don't know, credit to the bad shit because we already know the bad shit is going to happen. But we never give credit to the good shit, the good shit that we definitely know would happen if we put ourselves in a position of having them happen, but we do not, because the bad shit is more easy to credit and give it its position of existence than it is the good shit, because we don't necessarily entertain the good thoughts that much. So I think that's where Kendrick comes in. And then we have Drake, the heart, or rather, let me say we have J. Cole, the soul, because I kind of like how this kind of flows into one another. Because with Kendrick, you have fixed your mind, so you know what you want, you know what you have to do. You have the skill, you've built the skill, you've done everything that you need to do, or rather, you've basically, I would say, created the reality that you want to create. Now you need to be humble enough to live in that reality. Know that there are other people that exist in this reality that basically would help you, or rather that would make this journey much more easier. And I think that's where kind of another essence of manifestation kind of comes in. Understanding that manifestation is not things that just are basically, just come out of the blue, like, oh yeah, you thought of it, so you have it. Take, for example, going to a golf club, meeting a okay, you're sitting there, your mind is right, you know what you got to do, you know what your business model is. So you think about it, okay, I want to have a business of doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, that's my thought. That's what I'm manifesting for the next 5 years. For some weird ass reason, you find yourself in the golf course. All right, you join a golf club. I know around here in the Midlands, I'm currently in the Midlands right now. I know there's a golf course where you just get, for like a couple of hundreds, you get like a whole day of just golfing. You meet people, you talk to people. They have their own, like, what you call these people that are regulars. You start meeting people, and then you got to be humble enough to know, what, I need to spark up a conversation with this kind of person. You don't know when they're going to be your investor. Boom, you talk to somebody, or you go online, you find somebody who does the same thing as you. It's not the manifestation of, it's not magic, it's just you finding yourself in the right places, and people will call it luck. You were right in the right place. No, I was open to these kind of, I was open to these kind of things. I was open to these kind of experiences. Hence J. Cole's way of doing things. I don't think a lot of people with kind of Drake's, with a kind of J. Cole's style of musical approach, a lot of people wouldn't have given Lil Yachty a feature. But I think Yachty has the money, He got the money to get a J. Cole feature, a Kendrick or a Drake feature. We've seen it time and time again. But to deliver at that point, and also for them to match up like that, it was like, what, let me give it a go. I can guarantee you right now, somewhere, somehow, one or some of Yachty's fans converted to, or rather kinda went through J. Cole's catalog. J. Cole got a lot of views. J. Cole, got more fans. J. Cole did this, did that. Because he opened himself up. He was humble enough to know that, okay, right, fine, I'm the GOAT, but there are other GOATs out there, in their respectable fields. So as much as I want to be this big ass businessman in this particular business, I know that in this business that I'm doing, there are GOATs that are kind of doing other things. Probably I'm in the web design space, and then I know that there's a coder. I know there's another person who does chatbots, who does AI automation. I know that I can get somebody to do the coding for me and do that for me, and then I have an undeniable business. I have an undeniable business. I have a very powerful business that the client cannot deny. So I think that's where J. Cole comes in. Understanding yourself more, understanding what you stand for, because you don't need to make enemies along the way in your greatness. A lot of people kind of make that mistake. Is what I've seen. Along the lines, you make mistakes. Obviously, people do that. Along the lines, you make enemies, which you don't have to do. You just got to be at least humble enough to understand that, you know what, sometimes I might be needing something from another person, not in a malicious way, but in a mutual way. I wanted to use this biography term, mutually. Well, it's a math term on the probability section, mutually related or something like that. I can't remember. And then we get to big man Drake, the heart, bruh. That nigga, after all the humbleness and after all the mental clarity that you would get from Kendrick and Cole, I kind of feel like Drake represents not only the heart, but also the self-worth of a person. Like, as much as I can be humble, but I know my worth. I know I'm good like that, you know? I'm humble enough, yes, but I know what fits me, what benefits me, and I know what benefits my brand. And if you don't represent my brand properly, and if I can't represent my brand properly through you, then I'm going to have to leave, right? Yeah, probably it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt the business. It's going to probably hurt anything that we've established at a certain point. But I need to think of me first. Look who I'm fucking again. I had on ice again. You know, those type of shit. So, but I will speak largely on the emotional side and the egotistical side of Drake. You know, those are the parts I like. I don't think I've ever gotten anything in between, because all of these things, the emotional side kind of also helps you how you view the world, and has given us by far the best artists, one of the best artists to ever exist, alongside these other two guys that I've mentioned. So this whole entire thing, he feels so much, he does so much, you know, but he knows that he's worth so much as well. So for Drake, as much as he speaks about these girls that he loves, she speaks about this girl that left him, that hurt him, cries in music videos, he's still making money. Yeah, money is not gonna serve, it's not gonna heal everything, but what is gonna heal is the self-worth that Drake always exudes, or rather always portrays in his music. He speaks about money, he speaks about women, he speaks about how easy it is to lose and get women. He speaks about how hard it is to love a woman and also get over them, the pressures of life itself, loyalty from people that has diminished because of certain things, you know, success changes people, yada 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 yada. You would help somebody and somebody would literally flip up the next moment, you know, after helping them that much. So I think that's where this dynamic of these guys, for me, is it's pivotal to the music game, because it's almost like if you would listen to these guys back to back, like pick their best albums. For example, let me say, Drake has a lot of good albums. I'll take Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers from Kendrick. That's where he goes fully about the mind there, and I think he was going through something. And then I'll take 2014 Forest Hills Drive by J. Cole. And for Drake, I kind of Take Care, or I will take Nothing Was the Same. And then listen to those albums back to back. It's almost like listening to a whole entire a Napoleon Hill tape, where he tells you about you need to fix your mind, you need to be humble in order to give the universe the equivalent of what you would receive back, because that's how manifestation works. You give something out in order to get what you have asked for. What are you going to be exchanging something of that value for? You know, you need to find equal value to exchange. Almost like buying something at the shop, but this time around, you're buying it with your mind and basically giving out a service for it. And then all the way to, you need to understand what you're worth. You need to put a price tag on that. So you need to understand what that price is that you're giving away. And if you're not gonna get any lesser than that, you know, it's gonna hurt. Sometimes you're gonna get played. You know, sometimes you're gonna get played, but sometimes being played is a good step for you to learn, in order to basically reconsider everything that you just trained yourself to become. Your mind, your humbleness, you know, all the way to your heart. So for me, that's my take. with the whole entire beef situation, I think it was never going to be a stalemate for me. It was a clear one. I think we kind of not talk about that much as far as how these people are different from one another. Because I've seen how people been comparing them throughout the whole entire beef, like the lyricism, the yada yada. You don't give Drake enough credit, but also you think Kendrick is overrated as well. So it's like you never listen to these artists for who they are and for what they do. Like, so for me, still Kendrick won. Like that was not a question for me. That was not a question for me. But it doesn't deny what Drake has done for the music industry, which I hate when people say Drake can't rap. Drake is not that deep. Drake is as deep, but fair too. Drake is as good, but in the beef, for me, he lost because he lost in two ways for me. A troll lost for being trolled because like there was nothing very serious. I think Kendrick was serious, but for me at the same time, like I think he understood who was he facing. You know, he was facing a man child in a sense when it comes to these kind of things. Because Drake was kind of fooling around, or he's always been fooling around. But it's like, okay, all right, let me try and troll a troll. Let me make something so bad that people would like it because it's trolling somebody, and it happened. Not like I was born. A lot of things were born during that time. But yeah, this is not about the beef. This is about what I'm getting from these people, and I'm getting quite a lot from listening to them and just from listening to their message. Kendrick the mind, J. Cole the humble, the soul, and then Drake the heart. All these things go hand in hand into becoming a greater version of yourself. And I'm glad that in the industry that we live in, or the industry that we have, we still have people like that. And it kind of even goes to show with how these people drop their albums. Kendrick will drop like every once in a while. The brain doesn't need you to be clustered with a lot of things. I think the brain kind of needs you to take a break sometimes. I think it kind of needs you to take a break sometimes and be able to reassess and reassess yourself as far as okay, I've applied my heart in this certain situation. Now, what have I gone wrong? So it's almost like when you listen to like I said, to this album that I mentioned by Drake, Nothing Was the Same, and then I find something there, and then I have to go back to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers to assess, okay, what is my mind doing right now that I've experienced that kind of pain, or that kind of hurt, or that kind of experience emotionally. I go back to my mind. What is my mind saying about this? What is Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers saying about this? And then now, how's going to be my next approach? And then I go to J. Cole, and be like, okay, what's going to be my next approach, J. Cole? Now, J. Cole obviously is going to tell himself to calm down and all that shit. Don't be impulsive about it. You need to understand, yada, yada, yada. I mean, we're talking about a nigga who slapped Diddy, and it was literally nothing. Diddy ain't found no nothing. He ain't done nothing. It was a humble slap. He knew that he deserved it, Exactly. So how do you approach things? How do you approach people? Because I know Kendrick can get a little bit violent with a lot of things that he does. I feel like even with the whole entire diss, nigga, less than 24 hours you've replied. Less than 3 hours you've replied. Damn, nigga, you were ready, It can get very impulsive, but I think J. Cole is kind of calculated in how he moves, in how he manages his emotions. At some point, I understand that in most of these interviews, he's come off like a little bit wishy-washy in a sense, like a little bit too humble to a point. It comes off a little bit fake, but I've never seen J. Cole any different. I'm just gonna put it out there. I've never seen him any different. He's always been like that, for me, and experiencing his music, watching his interviews. Bro took out Lil Pump to an interview to speak about the whole entire beef. He didn't want to double down on the little kid. Imagine that kind of respecting somebody younger than you who has been running a campaign. Fuck J. Cole, to humble yourself enough. I don't think Drake would have destroyed the kid. Drake would have destroyed the kid. Kendrick Lamar probably wouldn't have entertained it. He probably would have gone back to his cocoon, be like, okay, let me think about this shit. But essentially, if he would to engage, he would destroy the kid. Drake, in the same sense, he would have destroyed the kid. But J. Cole was like, all right, I need to find out where is he coming from. I need to understand where is he coming from, and then I'm gonna speak to him, find out where is it, because he's just a kid. I'm not gonna be doubling down on the kid. I'm not gonna be dissing a kid back and forth. Yes, I'm gonna be stating facts. 1985, I arrived. Yeah, this whole entire thing is gonna burn out very soon because you're not being smart with your money. You're not gonna be profitable forever, especially since you're just a SoundCloud rapper, who has not made much traction. I've been in the game for around a very long time, So I need to speak to the kid. Where is all this coming from? The kid was upfront. Yo, I was trolling. I saw you engaging. Everything was fine. Okay, fine. I understand. All right, bet, we cool. That's J. Cole. Otherwise, Drake would have been like, he said what? Boom. I'm gonna fucking destroy this kid's career. I'm gonna silence him up. We would be speaking. This boy has nothing. Lil Pump would have had nothing, But we're speaking about J. Cole here, So it's pretty different. It's pretty different. J. Cole is like a big brother. Drake is like, that impulsive brother. Kendrick is like that adopted, I don't fuck with y'all, but I'm a fuck with y'all kind of brother. He's also equally impulsive as well. So I think that's kind of the dynamic for me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it lands to people, but I really don't care. This has been how I've been listening to these artists, and I listen to them, and I'm very grateful, especially considering the Iceman coming through after the fall off has dropped. The fall off hasn't hit me that much. I'm still listening quite a lot, and yeah, we yet to see what is going to be coming from the head, from the mind. We got a very destructive and very ego driven album from the mind in 2024, if I'm not mistaken, GNX. And then we're about to, I'm not sure what we're gonna get, but we still got a very introspective album from the soul, which is J. Cole. So hey, tell me what you think. Also subscribe to this shit because we be yapping in the hills these days. Yap session done.